Welcome to the WCA 2015 World Whale Conference! Fantastic, wonderful to see you all here tonight. Thank you so much for venturing out on what I'm sure is going to be a really interesting evening. During the course of the next few days, we're going to be exploring the cultural relationships that we have had in the past and currently have with whales and dolphins, and of course the big element of that is whaling, both past and present. My name's Dylan Walker, I'm the head of the Secretariat for the World Cetacean Alliance, and on behalf of all of our 70 plus partners in 35 countries, I want to make a big welcome to you all here tonight. Absolutely fantastic that you're all here. We have two films that we plan to show you tonight. First of all, made and produced and directed by Johnny Zwick, we have the amazing film Breach, an exclusive for you all about Icelandic whaling. And secondly, after a break, we will have a shorter film looking at the traditional element of Azorean whaling, and we will have Norberto Sepe.
I think that was perfect to see how modern whaling compared with subsistence whaling of the past and the Azores. So that was really cool to see. And the two obvious main differences are, commercial versus subsistence whaling, and the fact that people in the Azores stopped whaling when they realized that, obviously not for whale watching, they didn't stop, but the fact that they're utilizing whale watching now so much, and it's, I'm sure, helping the economy, the tourism with whale watching and whatnot, as opposed to in Iceland where they think that it can coexist, which I'm sure a lot of people agree with me when say that's pretty ridiculous to be on a whale watching tour and have a dead whale be dragged across the same path. So that, to me, that was really shocking for when I did my film, but thank you so much for sharing yours.
In the schools in Iceland, is the whale watching or whaling being addressed for the children?
To my knowledge, not directly in the school system. They do, they'll mention it, but they won't go into too much detail. But Elding, who was actually kind of featured throughout the film. You may have seen their emblem quite a few times, but they actually take school children. They've made an agreement with schools to allow them to take children whale watching at a very young age, because they find it important to educate this next generation, this incoming generation of children about the fact that there are 23 different species of whales right in their backyard. So I thought it was interesting when I interviewed Iris, the young Icelandic student who said, I didn't even know that there were these whales here. So hopefully the next generation will start appreciating whales more. They'll know which species are out there and be opposed to whaling in the future.
Good night. My question is for Johnny. First of all, congratulations for the video. I think it's very well done.
Thank you.
Second, if I understood properly, they are having troubles on selling the whale meat, is that right? But on the other hand, we have seen lots of ships, lots of workers in the factories as well, and lots of things that require a huge cost in salaries or materials and so on. So is this all only financed by the exports and the meat the tourists are having there? Or, I feel like these people somehow are really making a profit with this, otherwise they will quit, they will go on bankruptcy. I don't know if you can bring just some light over here.
Yeah, of course. So there are two distinct markets of whale meat. The fin whale meat being exported to Japan from Christian Lofson, the CEO of the Kvalar company. And then there's the minke whaling. I'll start with the minke whale meat, which is only sold domestically. And so that whale meat is marketed as Icelandic tradition to tourists. And the number that came up, one of the interviewees said less than 10% of Icelanders eat minke whale meat regularly. That number, a new poll has come out, and it's 3 to 5% of Icelanders eat whale meat regularly. And they market it to tourists by saying, this is an Icelandic tradition. And I think that all of us are probably guilty of doing this at some point while traveling, and it's not wrong, but you want to indulge in the culture of the country that you're in. So by saying, you've come all the way to Iceland, you should experience the traditional Icelandic ways and try whale meat today, be a Viking. It's marketing like that all over the city, in newspapers, even in the airport when you get there. Those have been taken down now, but in 2013 there were billboards in the airport. So it's marketed that way towards the tourists. And so when you have 200,000 tourists, which has gone up, but in 2013 when I shot this film, 200,000 tourists going whale watching, 40% of those 200,000 people eating whale meat. Iceland is a country of 300,000 people. So to have 1 million tourists and 200,000 tourists going whale watching, 40%, I mean, you do the math, the whole market is just basically dependent on these tourists. Now, with the fin whale meat, it's a little bit trickier because Christian Lofsson, he runs HB Grandi, which is a huge fishery in Iceland that sells fish all across the world, all throughout Europe. HB Grandi products are being sold. He is a very wealthy man who's inherited this tradition, that his father started the company. Then his father died. He inherits the business. It's deeply rooted in who he is. And he has enough money to seriously prop up this entire industry on his own. In 2011 and 2012, they didn't go whaling one time, but he had contracts with all of his workers to continue working. Now, because of the Japanese tsunami, they couldn't get the meat there and everything was ruined. There was no market for it and nobody was buying it. In 2013, he tried to go to Hamburg and Rotterdam, and European ports said, no way, you can't come through here with that. So he turned around and didn't sell a single ounce of whale meat in 2013. Now, 2014, 2015, after this film was made, he has transported 2 different shipments of 2,000 tons of whale meat. Now, the second that he actually successfully gets whale meat back to Japan, there's all of a sudden a claim for there being a market again, because there clearly wasn't a market. He wasn't making any money. He was in the red. You have people leaving, like the Kvalar shareholder, Birna, in the film, who wound up selling all of her stock because she was saying, what the hell is going on? I don't even know what the business plan is here. So people will seriously doubt the fact that they're not making money, and they'll see this film and they'll say, well, there's no way that he'll continue. But that's the truth. The numbers are constantly changing, and he has a huge influence within the media in Iceland. So whenever numbers do come out, they're always changing, but they're in the low millions of revenue for all of those costs that he needs and that he pays for. And to have revenue in the low millions, but be shipping cargo across the entire world in the most difficult routes on the planet, you know that he's not making any money. That's revenue, very minimal revenue with huge costs. So, nobody knows. Nobody can say, I can't say, I don't know, because I don't know Christian Lofsson's exact numbers. It's a big mystery, and a lot of NGOs are dedicated to looking into these numbers and trying to peel the layers off this onion of this mystery villain, Christian Lofsson, who's taken on this industry all on his own, basically. They're the only country in the world who hunts fin whales. He's the only company, he's the only man, and he's behind all of it. Sorry, that was a really long answer.
Like what you said, I'm just wondering now, because he's the man from the whale watching, he's doing everything in Iceland. But isn't it mandatory to put out a year report or something? And he is apparently lying about the numbers significantly. But why can't the government, or can't they force them to put the numbers of the amount of whales being killed and not being sold, and not being consumed or anything. What's happening with whales?
Yeah,
Why?
Christian Lofson said is incredibly powerful within Iceland because he's basically this famous businessman. So take any, other famous businessman around the world and think about his pull. But when you have a country that's 300,000 people, and he basically grew up with these men who are in the government who are controlling it. He has huge ties within the government where he has so many loopholes that he's actually nobody's confronting him within the government. They're working with him directly. The scientists are all governmental scientists who are granting these quotas. They're all on his team. They're all for Lofson. So when you try to demand numbers from him, it's going to be the general population demanding numbers, and he's going to say, whatever, you're all crazy conservationists that I don't need to answer to, but the government just doesn't confront him at all. And one more point to that is a lot of politicians within Iceland were actually working for Christian Lofson's father. It's come out because they're all the majority of really big politicians in Iceland have backgrounds in the fisheries and fishing industry, because fishing industry before tourism was, it was the biggest export that they had. It was basically what their entire country relied on, and everybody was a fisherman. So they all have ties to being in the fisheries. They all have that pride of being in the fisheries and being a part of the fisheries. Usually if you're in the fisheries, you are pro-whaling. So they all worked for his grandfather at the Flensing Company. You see the young kids, he's trying to get this younger generation he's trying to keep it alive. So he has these younger kids working for him still. Flensing, you see him in the film kicking, karate chopping, messing around, playing around, while these, endangered 80-ton fin whales are being dragged up in front of them. It's just, I don't know, to me it's crazy.
I wanted to say everything he does is legal within the books. Or is he just very smart to walk around the rules or something?
Yeah, so it's loopholes. They had the opportunity to vote themselves as a country for their own reservation, to ignore it. And there's been a lot of debate about why the IWC hasn't done anything about that. But they basically found a way to vote for themselves. All they needed was their own vote to have a reservation against the moratorium, which they obviously took. It's as simple as that. There's nobody who's fighting against that and saying that it's breaking the law. But why I consider it him breaking the law is because of the trade that he's doing. The trade of endangered species is obviously highly illegal, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's going through these ports, he's taking these roundabout ways to get to Japan, and it's blatant, it's in people's faces. He mislabeled crates of endangered fin whale meat as fish. I mean, it's all a blatant lie, but nobody will stand up to him.
Well, were there some kind of consequences, direct consequences, of those mislabelings of the crates? And the second question, well, actually it was the first question I wanted to ask, is do you think, well, let me hear the...
Yeah, there were just fines, simple fines for that Lofson can pay off really easily. Nothing exorbitant, no huge sum of money for Christian Lofson.
When you talk
and the shipments were sent back to Iceland.
Those fines were applied by whom? By Iceland itself, or by?
By Europe, by their European ports, and then they were the ones who sent him back to Iceland.
Okay. And the second question I wanted to do is, since he basically manipulates most of the data and the major decisive entities in this matter in the country, is there some kind of independent entity, NGO or research institute or something that is trying to get the true data?
Yeah, Yeah, there's the Environmental Investigation Agency really focuses on this, and they've been doing really great work on investigative work with Lofson, and they try to present their findings, which is basically exposing the different businesses that he's using. So people like ImSkip, that's a big shipping company. ImSkip transports the whale meat from the processing facilities to H.B. Grundy, Christian Lofson's fishery, where he actually, after they break down the whale, they'll dump the whale meat onto these tables like you saw, and they'll start packaging it at H.B. Grundy, which is the fishery that he's the chairman for. So EIA will do things that they try to find every company like H.B. Grundy or ImSkip or Costco, not the market, but Costco. I'm not sure what they do, but it's a big it's the company he shipped through across the world. They try to find these companies and expose them and say, hey, don't buy H.B. Grundy fish products because H.B. Grundy sells their fish throughout Europe. So don't buy this stuff. Don't ever, if you're a big company and you use shipping, don't ever use ImSkip. They try to find out these little things that will take them under their other businesses down. But with finding the numbers, there's no one to really propose it to. They say, hey, look at this. This is crazy. This is what he's doing. But then who's going to take the reins? Nobody's taking the reins for bringing him down.
But that's all about the economical numbers.
Yeah.
What about the populations of the whales?
Well,
there's some independent entity that is trying to
combat what they're saying, what the government's saying.
Because since he's actually manipulating. I mean, I truly believe that probably he is somehow manipulating the population numbers that come out, probably. And so the stocks that are allowed to be hunted would be not really the true numbers.
Yeah, well...
Do you believe that they are truly unattached to the whole economical?
I don't think that that whaling has had a significant impact on the decline of the populations around Iceland. I think that personally, I think that maybe whales don't go around the waters. Maybe they do recognize, we all know how intelligent they are. Maybe they do recognize it and go a different way. But to me, I think that it is because of the changes in the ocean. Water temperatures, different abundance of prey in different areas. But that's what the scientists do say in Iceland as well. They say that drop is because the prey is moving around. But who knows? That's just my personal opinion. Nobody knows for sure. But I know that if I was a governmental scientist who made these quotas, who said, all right, it's okay to kill endangered whales, that I would definitely know what their migration routes were, where they're feeding, exactly what their numbers are. I wouldn't say, oh, the population is declining and we don't know why, but we're going to continue to make quotas for the killing, which is exactly what they're doing. He said it himself in the film. He said, we don't know where they are. We don't know why they've gone away. He said, I think, keyword being, I think that it's because of the difference in abundance of prey. But I think isn't enough for going off and allowing commercial slaughter of an endangered species.